Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet this really cute chunky children's Christmas sweater with a nice snowman on the front. So this sweater can be made in a number of different sizes, and for all of the information on how to make the different sizes, please see the description box below. So I also wanted to mention that I have a Twitter account, and I will have a link to my Twitter in the description box below this video. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can share with me photos of your crochet work. So thank you very much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. To begin your jumper, you want to start off by making a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, you want to take your yarn and you want to take your finger, and you want to wrap the yarn around your finger once and then twice. Then take the first loop and pull it over the second loop, and then take the second loop and pull it all the way over your finger. You then want to take your crochet hook. So take your hook, go in through this space and pull tight. And there you have a slip knot. Once you have your slip knot, you now want to make your foundation chain. And for our foundation chain, we are going to chain 41. So you want to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 41. So I have just finished making my foundation chain of 41. And now we are ready to move on to round one of our jumper. So we are now on to round one. And round one is a simple round of double crochet. We're just going to do one double crochet into every single chain along our foundation chain. And we're going to work our first double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So here is the first chain from the hook, and here is the second chain from the hook. And into this chain we're going to do our first double crochet. So yarn over and go into the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, so pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops on your hook. So there we have one double crochet, and we're going to do that into every single chain along. So yarn over and go into the next chain and work 1 double crochet, then yarn over and go into the next chain and work a double crochet into this chain as well, and the next one, and continue this for round one. 1 double crochet into each chain. So I have just finished working that all the way along for round one, and at the end of this round you should have 40 double crochets across. So you should have worked 40 double crochets in round one, and the chain one that we skipped at the very beginning of the round, where we worked into the second chain from the hook. So here we have our first double crochet and then the chain one that we skipped. This chain one does not count as a stitch. This is the turning chain for this round. So you should have 40 double crochets or 40 stitches across, not including the chain one. And we are ready to move on to round two. So we are now on to round two, and to begin this round you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now for round 2 we're going to do 1 double crochet into 1 stitch, but then 2 double crochets both into the next stitch, then 1 double crochet into the next one, and 2 double crochets both into the next one, all the way along. So you want to yarn over and go down into this very first stitch here, as our chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So here's the chain 1 and the first stitch, and we're going to go into the first stitch and work 1 double crochet, and then yarn over and go into the next stitch and do 1 double crochet, but then yarn over and go back down into the exact same stitch again and do a second one. So 2 double crochets both into this stitch. So now go into the next one and do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, but then into the next stitch you want to do 2 double crochets both into the next one. So 1 and 2. And just continue this all the way around for round 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way across. So I have almost finished working that all the way along for round 2, and I just wanted to show you that at the very end of this round you should find that you work 2 double crochets into the very last stitch. So go into the last stitch here, and you need to make sure that you are not going into the chain 1, that you're going into the first double crochet from round 1, and work 2 double crochets both into this stitch. And you should finish off by doing 2 double crochets both into the last stitch, as we worked 1 double crochet into the first stitch. So there we have worked that all the way along for round 2, and we're ready to move on to round 3. So we're now on to round 3 of our jumper, and to begin this round you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now in round 3 we're going to do 1 double crochet into one stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, but then 2 double crochets both into the next one. And then we're going to repeat that again. 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next one, but then 2 double crochets both into the next one. And continue that all the way around for round 3. So yarn over and go down into this very first stitch here, as our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and do 1 double crochet into this stitch. Then yarn over and go into the next stitch and do 1 double crochet into the next one. But then yarn over and go into the next stitch and do 2 double crochets both into this one. So we have 1, 1, 2. So now yarn over and go into the next one and do 1 double crochet. Then do 1 double crochet into the next one along. But then into the next one along, do 2 double crochets both into this stitch. And continue to repeat this all the way along for round 3. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So I'm just coming to the end of round 3, and at the end of this round you should do 1, 1, and then 2 double crochets both into the last stitch. And this stitch should be the last double crochet, do not go into the chain 1. And now we're ready to move on to round 4, and at the end of round 1 you should have had 40 stitches across. At the end of round 2 you should have had 60 stitches across, and at the end of round 3 you should have had 80 stitches across. So you should have 80 stitches or 80 double crochets across at the end of round 3, and that does not include the chain 1. And if you do, then we are ready to move on to the next round. So we are now on to round 4 of our jumper, and to begin this round, chain 1 and turn, and the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now round 4 is very simple. For round 4 we're just going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch across. So 1 double crochet into every single stitch across. So yarn over and go down into the first stitch and do 1 double crochet into this one. Then yarn over and go down into the next one and do 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And continue this all the way across. 1 double crochet into each stitch, and this should be 80 double crochets in total. So we're not increasing anymore. You want to have the same number of stitches across in round 4 as you did in round 3. So I have finished doing that all the way around for round 4, and I actually switched to a blue. I decided I did not want my jumper to be in green. I wanted it to be in blue. So I went back and undid the work that I had done and redid rounds 1 through to 4 in the blue. So that's why I have a different colour. So I did 1 double crochet into each stitch along, and this should be 80 stitches, and this is what you should have. And now before we move on to round 5, we are going to join our work. So at the moment our work is one big loop and it is not joined at the top here, but as we are doing a jumper or a sweater, we want our work to be joined and then just have a little opening at the top so that it is easier to put on and off. So we are going to join our work here using a slip stitch, and then this will be our opening and we will have a button here to seal it up. So what you want to do is to join your work, we are going to do a slip stitch into the first double crochet of the round. So here is our last stitch which we just worked, and then on the opposite side of the round we have our first double crochet here. Here is the little chain one which does not count as a stitch, and here is the first double crochet. And you want to insert your hook into this double crochet and make sure your work is not twisted around, and then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And there we have joined our work, and we are ready to move on to round 5 of our jumper. So we are now on to round 5 of our jumper, and in round 5 we are going to be adding in the shape. So at the moment we have a big loop, and we are going to be adding in the arms and the front and the back in round 5. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to work along a certain number of stitches for the first half of the back. We're then going to skip a certain number of stitches for the first armhole, work along a certain number of stitches for the front, skip another number of stitches for the next armhole, and then work along another set of stitches for the other half of the back, and then join. And that is how we're going to add in the shape in round 5. So to begin this round, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And we're going to move on to the first half of the back of our sweater or the back of our jumper. And to do that, we're going to do 12 double crochets. So 1 double crochet into each of the next 12 stitches. So yarn over and go down into the first stitch here and work 1 double crochet. Then work a second one and a third one, and do this until you have 12 double crochets. So like that. So there I have done 1 double crochet into 12 stitches, and I have the first half of the back of my sweater complete. And now we're going to move on to the first armhole. And to make this armhole, all we need to do is we're simply going to skip 16 stitches. So you want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. So here is my 16th stitch along, and we're going to skip all of these stitches for the first armhole. And now into the next stitch, so this is the 17th one along, we're going to work 1 double crochet, and this is going to be our first double crochet of the front of our sweater. So yarn over and go into this stitch. So this is the 17th one along, so I have skipped 16 stitches, and you may want to go back and check that you have skipped 16. And now we're going to work 1 double crochet, and I kind of like to bring my work together so that I get a nice tight double crochet. And there I have the first double crochet of the front of my sweater, and I have made my first armhole. So I'm just going to go back and check that I did skip 16. So we are now on to the front of our sweater, and for the front of our sweater we just need to do 24 double crochets. So the front of our sweater is 24 double crochets long. So we have already done 1. This one that we just did here is the first one of the front. So now we're going to go into the next one and do our second double crochet, then do a double crochet into the next stitch. So there we have 3, and do this until you have 24. Okay, so like that, so 24 double crochets for the front of your sweater. And now we're going to move on to the next armhole, and we're going to work this armhole in the exact same way as we did the other one. We're just going to skip 16 stitches. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 16. So here is my 16th stitch, and I'm going to skip this one and then into the next stitch along. So this is the 17th one along. I'm going to yarn over and go into this stitch and work 1 double crochet, and this double crochet is the first double crochet of the back or the other half of the back. And then I'm going to go back and check that I have skipped 16. So and I do, I have skipped 16. So now I'm just going to work along the rest of my work or the rest of the round for the other half of the back. So this should be 12 double crochets in total. So we have already done one. So I'm going to work 1 double crochet into the next one, into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next one, and do this until you have 12 for the other half of the back. So I have finished working those 12 double crochets for the other side of the back. So now we have 12 on either side, which makes up the same as the 24 that we have for the front. And now to finish off round 5, you want to go into the first double crochet that you worked here, not the chain 1, the first double crochet, and work a slip stitch. So yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And there we have completed round 5, and you can see we have added in the shape. We have a front, 2 armholes and a back, and we're ready to begin round 6. So we are now on to round 6 of our jumper, and the next part of our jumper is very simple. So for the rest of the jumper, or the rest of the length of our jumper, you just want to repeat rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch around, again and again and again, until you feel that your jumper is long enough. So we're going to start each round with a chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch around, so all the way around this section here, and then finish off each round with a slip stitch into the first double crochet that you worked. And then we're going to repeat that again. Chain 1 and turn, 1 double crochet into each stitch around, slip stitch into the first double crochet that you worked, and then again and again and again until you feel that your jumper is long enough. So the bigger size that you are doing, the more rounds you may want to do. So I'm going to begin my first round of 1 double crochet into each stitch around. So I'm going to start this with a chain 1 and turn. So you start each round by chaining 1 and turning. Then yarn over and go down into this first stitch here, as our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and do 1 double crochet into this stitch, then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch and the next one, and just do this all the way around. So 1 double crochet into each and on this stitch. First round here, when you get to the armholes, just go straight across. So we're just going to go straight across the armholes. Do not go up into the armholes, as we're going to do the sleeves later. So just do 1 double crochet into each stitch across, all the way around. So I'm coming to the end of my round, and I'm just working double crochets all the way across. So work 1 double crochet into this very last stitch here, and then finish off the round by going into the first double crochet that you worked. So don't go into the chain 1, go into the first double crochet. So go into this stitch and work a slip stitch like that. And now we can repeat this again. Chain 1 and turn, and do 1 double crochet into each stitch along, and then work a slip stitch, and continue this until you feel that your jumper is long enough. So I'm probably going to do 6 rounds or something like that. So once you have finished working the rounds for the length of your sweater, you now want to add on the sleeves. And I still have a few more rounds of the length to go, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to move on and show you the sleeves before I finish off the length. So once you have done the length, move on to the sleeves, and both of the sleeves are worked in the exact same way. So I'm going to show you one, and then you can just do the other one in the exact same way. So we're going to start off with this left one here. So you want to take the left sleeve and kind of turn your work to the back, so turn your work over, and that way the seam of the sleeve will go along the back and not along the front of the sweater or the jumper. So turn it over to the back, and we're going to begin by attaching our new yarn into the armhole, and we're going to attach our new yarn into this stitch here. So this stitch is the first stitch of the armhole, so it's the first stitch that we skipped. So you can see this one has been worked into, so we're going to go into the next one, the first one that we skipped, and insert your hook into this stitch. Then take your new yarn, so I'm going to take my 2 strands of my yarn, place this over the end of my crochet hook, and pull these through. And there I have attached my new yarn, and now we're going to chain 1. So you want to chain 1, and that will secure your yarn nice and tight into that stitch. So we are now on to round 1 of our sleeves, and we're going to begin this round by doing 16 double crochets, 1 into each stitch. So yarn over and go down into this very first stitch here that our chain 1 comes out of, and work 1 double crochet into this stitch. So we have our first double crochet into the stitch that we attached our new yarn into, and then we're going to go into the next stitch and work 1 double crochet, and then work 1 double crochet into the next one as well, and do this until you have 16 double crochets, 1 into each stitch. So I have finished working those double crochets around for round 1 of the sleeves, and that is 16 double crochets, and you should find that the last stitch that you work into here is the last stitch that we skipped with our armholes. So this is the last one that we skipped. And now to finish off round 1, we are going to do 3 more double crochets into this section here. So around our sleeves we will have 19 double crochets in total, 16 plus 3. So we're going to work our first one of these 3 into the side of this stitch. So you can see this stitch here is the first stitch at the front of our sweater or our jumper, and we have the side of the stitch here, and we're going to yarn over and go into the side of the stitch, and it doesn't matter where, just anywhere into the side. And these sometimes can be a little bit tricky to go into, but just kind of wiggle your way through and work 1 double crochet into this stitch. So 1 double crochet into the side of this one. And now we're going to go into this bottom stitch here. So this stitch actually just has 1 loop, and we're going to go into this stitch and work our second double crochet. So it's right at the bottom of our armhole or our sleeve. So yarn over and go into this stitch, and I'm actually going to go a little bit below it and just pick up some of the loops from the one below it, so that I don't have a hole at the bottom of my armhole. So if you want to do that, just go a little bit below the stitch into the row below it. So there we have 2 out of the 3, and then the last one is going to be worked into the side of this stitch here. So this is the first stitch or the last stitch of the back. So here is the back of our jumper, here is the last stitch, and we're going to go into the side of this one. So go into the side of this stitch just like we just did, and work your last double crochet. So this one is really tricky to get into, so I'm just going to kind of wiggle my way through like that and work 1 double crochet. So there we have our 19 double crochets for round 1. So you want to start off by attaching your new yarn and chaining 1, which does not count as a stitch, working 16 double crochets, then working 3 last double crochets, 1 into the side of the first stitch, 1 at the bottom, and 1 into the side of the last stitch here. And then to finish off round 1, you want to insert your hook into the first double crochet that we worked at the beginning of the round here. So go into the first double crochet and work a slip stitch like that. And there we have round 1 completed of our sleeves, and we're ready to begin round 2. So we are now on to round 2 of our sleeves, and the rest of our sleeves are very simple. You simply want to repeat rounds of double crochet again and again and again. So for each round you want to chain 1 and turn, and then do 1 double crochet into each stitch around, and that should be 19 double crochets, so 19 stitches in each round, and then finish off by doing a slip stitch into the first double crochet that you worked. Then repeat that again, chain 1 and turn, do 1 double crochet into each stitch around, and continue to repeat that until you have your sleeves to the length that you want them. So we're going to begin each round with a chain 1 and turn, then yarn over and go down into the first stitch and do 1 double crochet, Then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch along, and 1 double crochet into the next one, and the next one, and continue this until you have done 1 into each stitch, and that should be 19 in total. So there I have worked double crochets all the way around, and I have 19. So now I'm going to go into the first double crochet that I worked and work a slip stitch. And now I'm going to repeat that round again. Chain 1 and turn, and then do 1 double crochet into each stitch, and make sure that you remember how many rounds you do in total. So say you do 7, write that down so that your other sleeve is worked to the exact same length. So keep repeating these rounds again and again and again, and you can see this gives us a really nice so the more rounds you do, the longer your sleeves will get, so just keep going until they're long enough. And this is why I like to do the length of my sweater first, as then you can make sure that the sleeves and the length are in proportion. So keep going. And when you do the sleeve on the right hand side, you can either start off here, so at the front, and go all the way around and then work your 3 stitches at the end, just as we did this one, or you can start off on the opposite side and begin by doing 1 double crochet into this stitch, working the 3 along the bottom, so into the side, the bottom and the sides, and then working 15 across or around, and that way the seam will be at the back again. But it's not a very obvious seam at all, so you could just start at the front here and do it in the exact same way. So we are now going to move on to make the snowman of our jumper. So I'm going to be using some white yarn and a 5mm crochet hook, but you can use whatever white or cream yarn you have, and then the crochet hook that is suitable for that yarn. So to start, we're going to do a magic circle. So to do a magic circle, you want to take your yarn and take your finger and wrap the yarn around your finger once, and then wrap the yarn back over your finger to create a cross. You then want to take your crochet hook and go underneath the first loop of the cross. So you may need to pull this up and go underneath the first loop, and then using your crochet hook, pick up the second loop of the cross and pull it through. And you can then take your finger out, and there you have a magic circle, and we're ready to begin round 1 of our snowman. So to begin round 1, you want to chain 1, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And we're now going to do 12 double crochets into the circle. So yarn over and go into the circle and work 1 double crochet. So 1 double crochet into the magic circle. Then work a second double crochet into the magic circle and a third one, and do this until you have 12. So I have just finished doing my 12 double crochets into my magic circle, and now to finish off round 1, we're going to close up the magic circle. So to close up the circle, you want to take your end here or your tail and just pull this as tight as you can, and this will close up the circle. And then we're going to finish off by doing a slip stitch into the first double crochet that we worked. So if you want, you can count back 12 stitches, and that will take you to this stitch here, and work a slip stitch into that stitch. So work a slip stitch into the first stitch that you worked, and we're now ready to move on to round 2. So we are now on to round 2 of our snowman, and to begin this round you want to chain 1, and the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So round 2 is going to be a round of 2 double crochets into each stitch. So you want to do 2 double crochets into every single stitch around. So yarn over and go down into the first stitch and do 1 double crochet. But then yarn over and go back down into the same stitch again and do a second double crochet. Then yarn over and go into the next one and do 2 double crochets both into this stitch as well. And then do 2 double crochets into the next one, so the third one along. And just do this until you have 2 stitches into each stitch around, and then you will have 24 stitches in total. So continue this for round 2. So I have finished working that all the way around for round 2, and to finish off this round we're going to go into the very first double crochet that we worked here, and we're going to work a slip stitch. So if you don't know what stitch to go into, count back 24. So once you have done round 2, we have actually finished the head of our snowman. So we have finished the head of our snowman. So you can pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn. But when you cut your yarn, make sure that you leave a long tail. So say about up to here, so about 20 centimeters or so. And then we will use that end to sew our head onto our sweater or our jumper. So now we're going to move on to the snowman's body. And to start the snowman's body, you want to do the exact same thing as the head. So you want to do a magic circle, then do round 1 in the same way with the 12 double crochets, then do round 2 in the same way with 2 double crochets into each stitch. So once you have got to round 2 of the body, you should have the exact same thing for the head. So go away now and start making the body of your snowman. So you should have done the head up to round 2 and fastened off. And then for the body, do the exact same thing as the head, but do not fasten off, and then we will pick up round 3 from where we finished off. And then you will have the head completed and the body started. So I am now on to the body of my snowman, and I have finished round 2. So you want to do the same thing as round 1 and 2 of the head. Do a magic circle, chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, 12 double crochets into the magic circle, close your magic circle and join, then chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and do 2 double crochets into each stitch around, finishing off with a slip stitch into the first one that you worked, and you should have 24 double crochets around at the end of round 2. And now we're ready to move on to round 3. So to begin round 3, you want to chain 1, and this does not count as a stitch. So for round 3, we're going to do 2 double crochets both into one stitch, but then 1 double crochet into the next one. Then 2 double crochets both into the next stitch, but then just 1 double crochet into the next one, all the way around. So we're going to repeat 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around for round 3. So yarn over and go down into this first stitch here, as our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and do 1 double crochet. Then yarn over and go back down into the same stitch again and do a second double crochet into this stitch. And then into the next one, you want to do just 1 double crochet. So we have 2 and 1. Then into the next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets both into this one, and then just 1 double crochet into the next one, and repeat this all the way around. And at the end of this round, you should have 36 stitches around, so we're increasing by 12. So I have worked that all the way around for round 3, finishing off by doing 1 last double crochet into the last stitch, and we're going to go into the first double crochet that we worked and work a slip stitch. And now we're ready to move on to round 4. So we are now on to round 4, and to begin this round, chain 1. And now for round 4, we're going to do 2 double crochets both into one stitch, but then 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches all the way around. So we're doing 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1 all the way around for this round. So yarn over and go down into the first stitch and do 2 double crochets both into this stitch, like that. So we have 2 both into the first one, and now we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet into the next one. So we have 2, 1, 1, and repeat this all the way around. 2 double crochets both into the next stitch, like that. 1 double crochet into the next one along, and 1 double crochet into the next one along, and continue this for round 4. So I have finished working that all the way around for round 1, 2, 3, 4 of the body, and then I worked a slip stitch and fastened off, again leaving a long tail that I will use to attach my snowman's body to the head and then to the sweater or the jumper. And here I have the head, and you can actually make the head as big as you want. So say you want to do just round 1 and round 2 of the body, like I said, you can just go up to round 2. But if you want a bigger head, then you can do round 3 of the body as well, and then you will have a bigger head. So that is what I have done. So I have got round 1, 2, 3 and 4 for the body, and then just rounds 1, 2 and 3 for the head. I did just have my head for the 2 rounds, and I decided that that wasn't enough for my sweater, so I went ahead and did round 3 for the head as well. So I just attached some new yarn and worked round 3, which is 2 1 2 1 all the way around. I worked that around for the head, and now I have my snowman to the size that I want him. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a yarn needle, and I'm going to sew this to my sweater. So I still have to crochet the length of my sweater, but once I do that, I'm going to use a yarn needle and place my snowman on my sweater. And it's good if you put the seam up to the top on both sides, and then you could make a scarf and cover this up, or add some buttons down the middle to cover this up. But you can just pop him wherever you like. You could do him to the side or straight on, and just use a yarn needle and then your ends to sew your snowman to your sweater. So I have finished making my jumper, and I attached my snowman to my jumper and then added a scarf and his face. So to put the snowman together, what I did was I found the center of my jumper and I placed the body on the center. And then I used a yarn needle and the end from where I fastened off, and I went in and out and in and out in every single stitch around and down into the jumper or the sweater, and attached it really nicely and made sure that it was flat and stayed centered. And then I did the exact same thing with the head. I used a yarn needle and the end from where I fastened off and went in and out and sewed it to the sweater. And I overlapped the body and the head a little bit, just slightly, only about that much, just to make it go together. So just using the yarn needle and the ends go in and out. So I went down through the stitch and down into the bottom and pulled the yarn through, and then came back up again and through into the next stitch and did this. So I went like this all the way along until my snowman was attached to my sweater. I then added a scarf to cover this join here of the head and the body. So for the scarf, I took 24 pieces of yarn. So I used green, pink and blue, and I cut 24 sections that were about this long, about 30 centimeters or so. And then I knotted them at one end and slotted the knot behind the back and just fastened it in there. And then I made a plait all the way down, and then just using a piece of yarn, I just tied that around the bottom to keep it together. And that is how I got my scarf. But you could make the scarf in any way that you want, as big or as small as you like it, and in whatever colours. So just use some yarn and make a plait, slot it around this side and tack it down, and then just tie it on the end. And then for the face, I used some black yarn and made 2 little eyes. So I just went up and down twice on each of those stitches, making the eyes. So I used a yarn needle and some black yarn, and then I made his little nose, which I will show you how to do now. So to begin the nose, you want to take some orange yarn and a 4mm crochet hook, so a smaller crochet hook. Make a slip knot, so make a slip knot. And now we're going to chain 5. So chain 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Into the second chain from the hook, you want to do a slip stitch. Into the next chain, work a single crochet. Into the next chain, work a half double crochet. And into the very last chain, work a double crochet. And this gives you a nice snowman's nose, and you can then fasten off. And then I just attached it along this end here, so it kind of sticks up and is nice and loose. And there I have finished, and I have attached a button on the back where we have the opening, but you could put a popper or whatever you like. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos, and thanks again for watching. Bye!